Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we talk about all things fandom on this channel, and we talk about them in a positive way. If that's something that appeals to you, you know you've come to the right place, and we are so happy to have you here. This is Thursday, and we're going to be talking today about the new remake of a Stephen King novel that has been previously adapted into a movie that's become a classic, and that is Cujo. Cujo is getting a Netflix remake, so let's talk about it. All right, so we have to talk a little bit about this Cujo remake. The book was adapted into a movie early on, only a couple short years after it came out. And that movie was watered down. And a lot of people do believe that that movie was watered down from the novel, which is actually exciting because when you think about Netflix doing things, they've never really shied away from some of that stuff. They've always sort of embraced the fact that they have the gore because they don't have to play the ratings game. They don't have to play the ratings game with their original material. So they can show the more violent parts of the book, which is going to be exciting for a lot of people who want a more true adaptation. But that being said, don't feel sorry for the original movie, because the original movie, despite being a watered down version, according to a lot of people, is actually still very much a classic. A classic movie that essentially did for dogs what Jaws did for sharks. And that's not a small feat, because if you look at that movie, there are people that are still afraid of dogs to this day because of the book Cujo or the movie Cujo. And I think that's telling. I think that that's something that is worth exploring in a movie, because things that are everyday horror are sometimes a lot more terrifying than the horror of some supernatural or demonic type of character coming after you. It's sometimes even more terrifying than the undead slasher that's going to rise at the end of each movie to come and attack you. And if you don't know what the book Cujo is about, it is essentially about a dog that contracts rabies from a rabid bat and then sort of becomes ill. And as the movie progresses, this dog gets more and more violent, and the movie gets more and more scary. But even with that, this book adaptation of the movie now by Netflix could prove to be the version of the movie that we deserve. We are going to talk about an article from Variety that talks about this project a little bit. Okay, according to Variety, Netflix sets remake of Stephen King's Cujo. Netflix has greenlit a remake of Stephen King's novel Cujo, a horror story about a mother and son who get trapped in their car while protecting themselves from a rabid dog. Roy Lee of Barbarian fame will produce the reboot, which has yet to attach a writer, director, or cast members, according to Deadline, which broke the news of the project. Stephen King's 1981 book was first adapted to the small screen in 1983 as a feature film of the same name, directed by Louis Teague and starring Dee Wallace and Daniel Hugh Kelly and Danny Petrello. According to the box office, Cujo earned $21 million worldwide, not adjusted for inflation, against a $6 million budget. Now, I do want to point out that I'm not that impressed by inflation at all, because to me, the project makes whatever it makes, and I have learned to be excited about the project making what it makes, and I'm happy to report that it made that much. And the fact of the matter is, if the same movie came out today, would it be more successful or less successful? We can't determine how that would be, so why adjust for inflation to say it would make more today? That's something I've always found to be a little bit kind of out there to do, and I don't personally enjoy doing that on this channel. But I am happy that it made what it made all the way back in the day. Stephen King novels ranging from horror and sci-fi to crime and fantasy have been rich material for Hollywood, according to Variety, with films such as Carrie, The Shining, Stand By Me, It, and the It sequel, Chapter 2, as well as the fact that Edgar Wright is currently adapting the action thriller Running Man from Stephen King, while Mike Flanagan has recently helmed the feel-good apocalyptic story Life of Chuck, led by Tom Hiddleston. Life of Chuck was acquired by Neon after the Toronto Film Festival, where it won an audience award. Neon also backed the gory slasher The Monkey from director Osgood Perkins, that is also based on a Stephen King story, a Stephen King short story to be exact, about a cursed toy that causes people to suffer from horrific deaths. The film opened in February and has grossed $45 million worldwide. On the small screen, Stephen King's works include the upcoming It prequel series, Welcome to Derry, as well as Flanagan's Carrie series on Amazon. It's like I said before, this movie could prove to be the adaptation of the book we needed. Stephen King novels have become quite the staple in Hollywood, with Hollywood often adapting them for a newer audience. And with each newer audience, it seems like we are getting a more true adaptation of the books. If you look at the original Shining, it really had nothing at all to do with the Shining book, yet it is considered to be an outright classic. And rightly so, because the movie is utterly amazing. The movie is terrifying, and the actors give such a good performance that The Shining is one of my all-time favorite horror films for that reason. However, the remake of it was actually done as a mini-series on TV, and it was a much truer adaptation to the Stephen King novel, and yet it didn't perform as well simply because it wasn't as iconically done as the original was. And sometimes that happens with the adaptations. Sometimes when you get a mini series of the adaptation, it just doesn't work as well as if you get the movie. The movie being a shortened movie may leave out some details, but it oftentimes picks the most exciting details about that project. When I'm looking at a Stephen King novel and I'm thinking, wow, this would make a great movie, oftentimes I wonder just how that's actually going to turn out on screen. And if you look at something like Cujo, could it be potentially more terrifying if they added back in the gore that was in the book? Of course it could be, and it should be. And I think that this makes it a good thing. The Running Man is another story entirely. I don't think we're going to get a Running Man project that's going to deliver as much as the Arnold Schwarzenegger one. That one has to also become a classic for all the right reasons. But is it a true adaptation of the Running Man book? Not necessarily. It's not really a true adaptation of that particular story. And because of that, it sort of leaves a lot to be desired. Now, are they going to make this one a much more true adaptation? It's potentially possible. That's what it really comes down to. This Netflix movie could turn out to be one of the better Netflix adaptations of any movie that they've ever done of Stephen King's, simply because it is a small isolated threat with them trying to escape this dog, trying to survive, and they're trapped in a car of all places. That is just insane. And oftentimes, Stephen King does that type of terror very well. The whole isolation thing is one of Stephen King's specialties. And seeing it performed on the screen where we could get more of the terror that was left out of the original movie adaptation of it, I think that's a good thing. But that, my friends, is where I'm going to leave it off to you guys. I want to know what you guys are thinking about this. Are you excited about the possibility of this being adapted by Netflix? Or do you think that this is a mistake and they never should have tried to adapt this movie again? What is your favorite Stephen King movie adaptation? Just to have a question out there, and why? as always, we want to know what you guys think. Make sure you're leaving us a comment in the comment box below, letting us know what you think. Also, friends, don't forget to share this video with all of your friends. They're going to want to be a part of the crazy conversation we're having. Then don't forget to hit that like button. It's free. It helps the channel, and we really do appreciate it. Then Miko says we need more subscribers. And look at this face. You don't want to disappoint Miko. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell while you're down there so you don't miss a single video we do. Then friends, at the end of the day, I know it, you know it, and Miko knows it. Fandom is family.